Trump's former Attorney General, that's Bill Barr, he says these charges are legitimate and they mean trouble for his former boss. Roll tape.
I think the counts under the Espionage Act that he willfully retained those documents are solid counts. Now, I do think we have to wait and see what the defense says and what proves to be true. But I do think that even half what Andy McCarthy said, which is if even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning. And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous.
Elliot Felig is a former prosecutor in the Manhattan DA's office, and he joins me now. Elliot, Bill Barr says this is very damaging. What say you?
Bill Barr, a lifelong Republican, two-time former Attorney General, he did not hesitate 2 months ago to say that the Bragg indictment was nonsense. He knows what he's talking about. After reviewing the indictment, after reviewing the relevant statutes, he's right. Former President Trump should be concerned.
Are the charges strong enough to merit the imprisonment of a former president?
Look, you could argue that until the president received the subpoena in May of 2022, that he was being simply negligent. And by the way, can we all agree, though, that it's really not a good idea to leave classified documents with our military vulnerabilities in a ballroom where some kid's having a bar mitzvah? Right, but that's what they were doing, okay? But yeah, until they got the subpoena, maybe you could say they were being extremely sloppy, careless, negligent. But then he gets a subpoena, and the indictment lays out very detailed, thorough conduct, many steps that were taken that clearly look like they were being done to evade a subpoena. That's a crime.
You sound like he could be found guilty.
I think that the pillars of the case, his former attorney, hard to attack the credibility of a lawyer who was working for Donald Trump, surveillance video, which shows boxes being moved, 64 boxes leave a storage room, only 30 make it back, and then you're going to have the testimony of the people who recovered the 102 documents that are described in the indictment. That's a strong case.
So carrying this forward, we may be in a situation where the leading presidential candidate may be found guilty in a court of law of a federal crime, but will continue his charge towards the presidency. We've never seen anything like this before.
There's nothing in the Constitution that bars someone who's been charged with a crime or convicted of a crime from becoming president of the United States. I think it's fair to say the Founding Fathers never contemplated the possibility of someone pardoning himself, but we may see that happen.
So we now have to figure out whether or not America will accept someone who's been indicted on espionage charges as the future president of the United States. How much damage to Trump, how much support for Trump? That's the calculation that's going to be made.
It'll be a South Florida jury. He carried Florida twice, which means that if the prosecutors want to win this case, it's very likely they're going to have to convince people who voted for Trump to convict him. So that may be an uphill climb. No one should take any outcome for granted here.
Do you think he got a fair trial in New York?
I think he's much more likely to get a fair trial in South Florida, where he carried the state twice, than in Manhattan, where 86% of the electorate voted for Joe Biden.
Do you think there's two legal systems in America?
I think that there's a powerful political argument to be made about that, but in a courtroom, you do not get to say, you can't defend a charge by saying, listen, that person got away with worse, that person got away with worse. A jury only gets to see the facts making out those charges.
A little later in the show, I'm going to editorialize and say that one of the reasons behind this indictment is Trump hatred. I think the left absolutely hates this man and will do anything to get rid of him. What say you?
There's ample evidence of that, but when you know you have a target on your back, you should behave accordingly.
I've got it. Elliot Felig, good stuff. Thanks very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Fascinating situation, isn't it?
Our Founding Fathers never envisioned it.
No, they did not. Thanks, man.